huge cherry picker is used as a battering ram to punch out the wooden slats protecting the windows. At 6:55, a squad of police enters the house. Little is heard. At 7 o'clock, another squad goes in. All MOVE members go to the basement.
And then they had said they couldn't find no MOVE members inside the house.
At 7:20, the bulldozer is used again to clear a basement window, where a Catholic Monsignor tries to talk MOVE members into surrender. At 8:10, screaming is heard from the house.
I was standing on the porch, 3207 Pearl Street. And I could hear, it's only about 200 feet from MOVE headquarters. I could hear voices. I could distinguish who was calling, I could distinguish the kids crying, hear very clearly it was calling out for help.
And 2 minutes later, hoses are blasted at the house to flood MOVE members out of the basement.
So finally they broke in the cellar window and started putting water in it saying bring the kids out.
12 minutes after 8, firemen are again using water. The MOVE members were observed with firearms in the basement. Firemen are now using deluge guns on the side of the MOVE headquarters.
Then at 8:15, several shots ring out, followed by a barrage of police gunfire. The press, who stood by in a bullpen, all hit the ground as officers, themselves moving back, cried out to reporters, "You'd better get out of here."
Made myself very, very tiny. Crawled into a crack in the sidewalk. It's amazing the things you can do when that happens. Because in 13 years in this business and covering a lot of cops, I've never actually seen a shootout. You hear about them, you read about them, but they happen so seldom that you're never ever there when they actually happen. Right where all these police officers are standing now was the press bullpen. We were all there, and the photographers all had a good angle to shoot down to the corner of the MOVE house.
Gunfire from the house at the time. Police officer shot on the corner. Two policemen are hit on the side of Pearl Street. Two policemen on the side of Pearl Street have been hit by fire. Policeman being helped in the personnel carrier. Second policeman being helped in the personnel carrier is hit by fire from MOVE.
And the tear gas filled up Pearl Street. I mean, you couldn't see in front of you. There was as much tear gas on Pearl Street, so we couldn't see too good. Gail was still in the house behind looking for people.
The cops were running around like a bunch of fucking maniacs. You should see, they was just running here and there. They didn't know what the hell to do. They were so disorganized. They looked like a bunch of fools.
Now, we ain't talking about picking up no gun. We ain't talking about, getting no gun and killing no few cops, all right? Because, if we want to do that, we could have did that last time.
The Remove members crawled out. One of them, at least, still had the strength to yell obscenities at police.
I'm saying I'm willing to take that commitment all the way. If Rizzo come in here, I'm willing to fight Rizzo off to the death, which is he'll be murdering me. I'm saying I would rather die than have to live under the stranglehold of Rizzo, live under the stagnated insanity of his administration.
The child from MOVE just crawled out through the basement window.
Actually, 8:45, firemen are flooding the building with water again.
Men, women, and naked children crawl out basement windows.
fellow women Move members when you did come to jail, and what condition were they in, and what did they have to say?
They was hurt, but they was strong. Okay, one of the sisters, she came in and they had her chained from the foot. Janet Africa. They had her braced from the foot on up to her waist. They had her like in a straitjacket and had a rope tied behind her,
leading her like a dog.
There's a male in the back window here.
At one point, these moments of violence. As a black man goes behind a police van, there is a flash of white above his head. The next scene captured by the camera is this. A man is on the ground. Police surround him. Our news camera is located in a third-floor apartment diagonally across the street from Move headquarters. The armored truck is the same one into which police had just dragged two of their injured brother officers. We don't know what sparked the violence here. Was the black man resisting arrest, or were some police officers' tempers spilling over as they dragged their wounded from the line of fire?
Police immediately wrestled him to the ground, took the gun away, and dragged him off to a waiting van. But during the entire incident, never once did I see the police do anything but react to Move's actions.
Male's got a gun. Police still see carbines inside the basement. The automatic weapon that Move just tossed out.
9:35, police gassing the basement.
Time approximately 9:58 in the morning. Commissioner O'Neill talking to the Move members. They're still in the basement.
Tensions remained high for an hour. Police were uncertain if the Move house was indeed empty. The operation was basically over at 10 a.m. The toll, 1 dead, at least 12 wounded. District Attorney Ed Rendell, questioned by News 10's Terry Ruggles, said that if the killer bullet came from the Move house, everyone in it could face a capital charge.
If to all the people who run in the house, if that is the case, there's no question.
What's going on, everybody? That was a clip from the West Philly bombings and the organization known as Move. I feel like it's kind of disturbing watching that, you know. And the things that happen to those people, like I couldn't fathom how they feel, how their families feel. So I send my condolences out to those falsely in prison, and hopefully one day they could be free. But Move 9 is what they call, and I'll leave a description in the box where you can look up a couple videos pertaining to those people. In 1985, Philadelphia police attack. From the fire, it killed 6 adults and 5 children and destroyed 65 homes. So the fire, which was intended for this radical group, which they want to call them, which they started off as kind of peaceful, until one of the members' infant child was killed by a police officer, which he intended to beat her with the nightstick, but ended up hitting the baby across the head with a nightstick, and this what made their group become radical. So in the course of trying to bomb them, the fire department let the fire burn 65 homes and 2 grand jury investigations. No one from city government was criminally charged for this attack on these people, because the kids were called combatant as well. So this group was founded by John Africa, and all of his followers took on the name Africa. So the sole survivor of this attack, her name is Ramona Africa. It was Chucky Africa, Delbert Africa, and they had quite a bit of women with them too. But the surname Africa. 10,000 bullets were fired into these people's, like, into their home in the course of 90 minutes. But they really lived on the block, but they kind of made it into like a military fort. So it's not like just like a regular home, you know. And the police, in the course of trying to get them out of there, they shot 10,000 rounds in 90 minutes into these homes where there were kids at, 5 kids, which were incinerated in the fire later on. Officials let it burn, but they were given the orders by the police commissioner, which were given the orders by the mayor at that time, which was the first African American mayor by the name of Wilson Good, police commissioner Gregory Sambor. Oh, birds. So, it could have been put out. This fire could have been put out potentially, but by the time they were given the order to put it out, it was just a complete inferno, and it was no turning around from that. The escape. So the kids in this building were aged 7 to 13, and one who managed to escape with Ramona Africa was a kid by the name of Birdie Africa, which his name is Michael Ward now. But at that time, he said 2 more kids escaped with him, and the police at that time reported kids to the hospital that 2 more would make it, and only 1 made it. So when it showed up in grand jury, police report said everyone from the organization, including the kids, had been found in the building. So they were saying that Birdie was lying, like there was no other kids. But Ramona reported at that time, when they were trying to escape out the building, that the police were shooting at them, you know, trying to get them to stay in the building while it burned down. And in the course of the fire, John Africa was one of the men who died, along with 5 other men and 5 kids. But in the grand jury, the deaths were justified, saying that, like I stated, the kids were combatant. So the deaths of John Africa and his followers were justified, even though they didn't commit any murders. They didn't harm anyone in these protesters. They were killed, like. So we got a free Delbert Africa. I'm gonna play this clip from one of the Move 9 members. He's slowly dying in prison right now. So just give a listen to what he got to say.
At 30. Why should we care what happened on May 13th, 1985? I mean, seriously. That was 30 years ago, a long time ago, way back when. Know what I mean? Most people won't say that, but they think that. Why, indeed? I'll tell you why. Because what happened then is a harbinger of what's happening now all across America. I don't mean bombing people, not yet, that is. I mean the visceral hatreds and violent contempt once held for Move is now visited upon average people, not just radicals and revolutionaries like Move. In May 1985, police officials justified the vicious attacks on Move children by saying they too were combatants. In Ferguson, Missouri, as police and National Guard confronted citizens, guess how cops describe them in their own files? Enemies. Enemy combatants, anyone? Then look at 12-year-old Tamir Rice of Cleveland. Boys, men, girls, women, it doesn't matter. When many people stood in silence, or worse, in bitter acquiescence to the bombing, shooting, and carnage of May 13, 1985 upon Move, They opened the door to the ugliness of today's police terrorism from coast to coast. There is a direct line from then to now. May 13th, 1985 led to the eerie RoboCop present. If it had been justly and widely condemned then, there would be no now, no Ferguson, no South Carolina, no Los Angeles, no Baltimore. The barbaric police bombing of May 13th, 1985, and the whitewash of the murders of 11 Move men, women, and children opened a door that still has not been closed. We are today living with those consequences. From Imprisoned Nation, this is Mumia Abu Jamal.
Mumia Abu Jamal recorded that commentary in prison. Last night, a prison nurse called Abu Jamal's wife and told her he'd been moved to the hospital for a second time this year. His supporters say they're concerned. He had a fever and open wounds and sores on his leg. That does it for our show on this 30th anniversary of the Move bombing. Thanks so much to Lynn Washington in Philadelphia. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez for another